Hi, I'm Ian Gilmore with Redline Engineering and RedlineStends.com. We run into this a lot where folks just don't know about the adjustments of their sandblast cabinets. They don't know what to do to get them operating right, and just their general knowledge of sandblast cabinets. So we're doing a little video here today to try and teach you a little bit about it. Here we've got an RE48 sandblasting cabinet, and the first thing I want to start off talking about is the mixing valve down at the bottom. Not all sandblast cabinets have a mixing valve, but the RE48 does, so let's talk about it. What you've got here is a little valve that determines how much air comes into your sand line here. If you notice, you got a little hole right here, a little adjustment, and you want a little bit of air to come into this valve. This is important because if you don't have any air coming in, it's trying to suck nothing but sand through here, and frankly, it's more than it can do. And so as a result, you introduce a little bit of air into the line, which allows it to draw both air and sand, and as a result, it will come up through the gun like it's supposed to. So let's suppose for a moment that I were to completely close this valve all the way off, okay, to where it could not draw in any air at all. Now, if I hit my pedal here and turn it on, you should see the sand come up through the line and not necessarily flow very nicely, and probably at some point just kind of stop. So let's see if it does it. And you can see there, a lot of times, like right there, you'll see the sand kind of just start to build up and stagnate right in here. That's kind of what you're watching for. Sometimes the line will just completely go clear for a second or two because it's trying too hard to pull the sand up. And so what you want to do is back this off. You can leave it a little open or a lot open. In the case of running medium grit Black Beauty sandblasting sand as I am here, I found that all the way open for this works better. And then when I push the pedal, the sand seems to flow through it just more steady, if you will. And so you kind of have to fine-tune this particular cabinet, the RE48, for what works best. A little opened, a little closed, all the way open. And that will vary for the different media that you're using. Is, some of it's very coarse, while other sands are very fine. Now, I want to talk about my air regulator. You can see that on this unit, I'm using 60 pounds of pressure right now. There's not necessarily anything right or wrong. You can do 60 pounds, you can run 100 pounds if you want to, if you've got tons of air pressure, which would be, great. You get that thing down way too low, 20, 30 pounds, it's probably not going to pick up much of anything. So let's go up to the top now and talk about the gun on the inside of the cabinet. Okay, on the inside of the cabinet, the first thing I want to talk about is the nozzle. We've got a ceramic nozzle in here that comes in several different sizes. I believe we stock these things in a 4mm all the way up to a 7mm nozzle. And I want to show you something. You put this back together. I'll reach around here. Here I've got a brand new nozzle and a used nozzle. And if you look up inside there, I don't know if you can see it quite well enough with the camera or not, but the inside of this used nozzle is really just kind of destroyed, if you will. It's not nice and straight through like the new one is. So keep an eye on your nozzle. Using different size nozzles can also make a difference in terms of how your cabinet flows sand. Typically, you want a larger nozzle with a more coarse grit media. If you're using something fine or super fine, you're going to want a smaller nozzle. The next thing that I want to discuss is the jet in the back of the gun. So I'm going to take my power drill here, and I'm going to pull the hose loose. Grab my wrench, loosen it off. I didn't have it terribly tight for this video. And as you see here, you can start to adjust this jet in and out of this unit. And you have a little stop nut right here that you would screw in that direction in order to lock it in place. In this case, after some testing, I found that having it all the way inward, fully seated, is best for this particular cabinet with the air pressure that I'm using. Black Beauty, medium grit, and so forth. One of the things that I do want to mention is, should your nozzle ever get stopped up or even be improperly made, if it doesn't flow straight through perfectly, that will cause it to quit sucking sand. So if you were to look down through the end of that nozzle there, I don't know if you can see well enough from the camera, but there's something on the inside of that nozzle. It's not straight through, whereas if you're looking at this one here, it's the exact opposite. Perfectly straight through. That's important. If that nozzle gets blocked whatsoever, it's not going to work properly. So let me go ahead and take my nozzle, put it back in my gun, screw it all the way in, and I'll grab my wrench, lock it back down. You need to determine for yourself what setting is going to work best for this for you. You might need it all the way in, a little out. It's one of those things that you just have to give it a shot and see what works best for you. So, let me put my tube back on here for my air. Grab my power drill. Screw this back tight. Okay. And now, I've got a piece here that I'm going to demo a little bit and show you, hopefully, what it should look like when the sandblaster is operating properly. So, close our lid back again. Okay, I'll turn it on, and if you look inside, you'll see it light up inside there, very well lit, and so let's do a little sandblasting. And you can see I've just cleaned up that part very, very well. Let's blast a little more. Let's suppose for a moment that a piece of media, something that I had blasted off of my part here had gotten lodged inside the line, and as a result, my sand was not flowing like it should anymore. Let's just suppose that happened to me right now, because it does happen all the time. The easiest way to try and get that dislodged is to take my hand, put it over the end of the gun, pull real nice and tight, hit my air supply, and when I do, that's going to force all of that air back up through the tube that the sand comes through, and frankly it just kind of jars everything loose. So if you had something in there that was trying to get lodged in a certain spot, it ought to be good to go and hopefully break loose. And so here I am, sandblasting away, it's flowing just as it's supposed to. Hopefully you can see that in the video. All right. Hopefully you learned a little bit about how to use a sandblasting cabinet and how to adjust one. The last thing that I want to show you that has nothing to do with the flow of the sand is the importance of the filter. As you're blasting this and you're creating tons of dust inside the cabinet, the air filter is collecting all of this dust. The reason that this is important, and I'm telling you this, is because if you let that filter get completely clogged up, you've got a vacuum motor that's trying its best to draw air through that filter. It can't do it, and as a result, you'll burn up your vacuum motor. So it's very important that you not only pull your filter out every hour or two, something like that of usage, blow it out with an air gun, but also replace the filter periodically. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the filter out right now and just kind of show you what I mean about all the dust in it. If I bring this down to the ground, you probably see tons of dust inside that filter. So look at that. The filter is doing an incredibly good job of pulling all of this dust out of the air, so you can see inside the cabinet. So keep your filter clean. Your vacuum motor will last a long time. We hope you learned from this video today. We appreciate you watching. Check us out at redlinestands.com.